Now entering Nerdist.com.
Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. Jackie Cation, Laurie Kilmartin. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show. It's the Jackie and Laurie Show. The Jackie and Laurie Show.
Oh my God.
Here we are.
God.
Still. Oh my God. I just wish we could. I mean,
Is this helping our careers at all?
I think so. I think it's done wonders. I get more 24-year-old women who come up to me and say, "Hey, I love your show," and it's usually 27-year-old men who go, "You play video games?"
Listen,
And so there's that.
you ladies, you know you're going to become showrunners. You have to repay us.
There has to be work.
We're going to.
At the very least, I'll open for you. And,
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what Maria does. She always says she's like, "Yeah, I just want to open for you guys when you guys become huge."
I know.
At the end of it all. So, yes. So Kyle wants to know.
Right.
You know who Stuart Lee is,
I
right?
love Stuart Lee, and I don't love him enough. Like I haven't seen. I've probably only seen 1% of what he does. But
Oh.
his thing making fun of American comics is so brilliant. I'm half butt and half that. That means I don't. It's so fucking funny.
He is amazing. I met him.
He's a British comic.
He's a British comic. I met him at the Melbourne Comedy Festival in 2004, I think.
Wow, that sounds fun.
Yeah, and what I did, yeah, I know. I've emailed them every year since. I went in 2005 every year. Guess what, Susan Provenon? Feel free to respond.
Do not do
Name
that.
check? Why?
Because that is not how to get them to respond to you.
It's been 12 years. I'm pretty sure we're good.
Maybe
at this
year
point.
13 was it.
Maybe 13 was the year. It's Susan. The thing is it's always polite, and it's
You have there's a tinge of anger. Susan, get back to me. That's not how you do
not
it. You give classes on how to approach bookers, and then
wow,
on the podcast,
that makes me sound like Kyle Cease.
I wanted to talk about him. I forgot
you?
about that.
Okay.
I was listening to KPCC, I think.
Sure.
And
why not?
He was on for like 2 hours.
Yeah, 'cause
talking
he's
about
selling
he
his
has a
thing.
weekend because he does transformational comedy or transitional comedy. Something I don't know what it is, but it's Tony Robbins.
He used to just do
plus
stand-up, you know.
right?
Yeah.
Half of me was like, "Sign me up. Where is this thing?" And the
Okay.
other half was like, "Oh." The other half won.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm surprised more comics don't go, "Fuck this open mic shit. I'm gonna start selling shit to people." Glenn Beck used to be a stand-up.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you think of the skills we have.
Yeah.
Any decent comedian, the skills you have with an audience and reading a crowd and
Yeah.
learning how to connect with people.
I was just
If
building
we're
a D. Yeah.
use that for evil.
You can use that for evil. Yeah.
Yes.
In a heartbeat. And here's something that'll make you want to throw your headphones out and get into your car.
Okay.
I was building a D&D character based on a stand-up comic. Like, what would a Dungeons, what would the stats be? Because someone was saying, because I was asking Andy, could you build a character in Dungeons and Dragons that was a bard or a stand-up comic and still be a bad bard or a bad stand-up comic? Because I was thinking about the parallel of there are people who do stand-up comedy for 30 years and never work the road or never get to the next level,
Right.
or they never get it for some reason, and I can't figure out why. I don't know how, but but Andy explained it. He said, "Well, what if you put all your energy into intimidate and bluff and appraise, and into dexterity and strength.
This is what's happening right now.
If you put all of, think of Joe Piscopo, right?
Right.
Joe Piscopo was a very physical comic and very, very funny. And then just roided out and started working out,
Yes.
and became super buff and essentially put all of his stats into strength and dexterity,
Yes.
and stopped
his energy.
and didn't put him into intelligence and charisma.
Right.
And I think what you'd have to do is build intelligence and charisma, and then also because we do have those skills. We have those skills. We could be the
You could
people
be
who
a
stop-
politician. You could run for mayor.
Sales.
Yeah.
There's politicians, Al Franken. There's
And he, oddly enough, doesn't really use that much. He actually seems like a wonk who's knee deep in policy all the time. I don't see him
No.
killing on C-SPAN.
Right. He goes sincere.
Yeah.
He's gone sincere.
Yeah, but you still know how to connect with people.
he completely does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if he needs to shut somebody down, he can.
Oh yeah,
Which I kind of want him to be the vice presidential
that
nominee.
That would be amazing.
I've always had an idea for a sitcom on Comedy Central. I'm probably not supposed to tell people this either, right? Because they're going to steal it. and
Don't
take
be like,
it.
hey, Ken Oliverman, book it.
I don't know who
Okay.
that is.
That-
See, I'm
he
never
runs
gonna...
Comedy Central.
Why would I know that?
Start watching specials. Start paying attention to who's running things.
I'm busy
Now
not
these-
writing my set list. I don't think you understand.
You don't know who to resent if you don't know who's in charge.
Oh, that's why. That's exactly why I didn't. See, what you're hearing with the Susan Provident thing is, I think, a little bit of resentment, just because I'd like to come back, but also the complete and utter awareness that there are 30,000 comics in the world,
Yeah.
and the Melbourne Comedy Festival is one of the most amazing.
I wanna
It might
do
be
it.
the best comedy festival I've ever been in my life.
Oh.
And get this, I did the road show. All I did, Maria brought me, so I opened for her.
Mm-hmm.
I did a show at an alley next to a dumpster that I got paid $50 Australian for.
Yeah.
And it was great. And then I got to meet great Australian comics like
Yeah.
Will Anderson and
Yeah.
Adam Hunter.
No.
The worst.
That's Adam
Not-
Hunt-
No, Adam Hunter's here.
Yeah.
So flock of seagulls. I forget. Anyway, so but I got to do this great thing, and then they asked me if I wanted to do the road show, and the road show is a 9-week tour. They no longer allow that.
Why?
Because it's a recipe for alcoholism, drug overdose, and sex and herpes. So it's
yeah.
it
I
is
could see
just
that.
right. And so I did 4 weeks with who were at the time some very like a couple of very young Australian comics and an older guy more my age.
Yeah.
All 3 other Australian comics, and then the last 4 weeks, or 2 or 3, I did 2 weeks with Stuart Lee, and I did 2 weeks with David O'Doherty and Greg Fleet. And it was
Greg Fleet's Australian, right?
Yeah, Greg
Is
Fleet's-
O'Doherty Irish?
O'Doherty's Irish.
Okay.
David O'Doherty's amazing.
Yeah.
And Stuart Lee's amazing. And
Yeah.
Greg Fleet's amazing.
Yeah.
And these other, and the local guys were amazing. One of the greatest things about Australian stand-up comedy is how far away they think they are.
Yeah.
They're like, I could do whatever I want because nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And they're kind of right, but it makes for the most unique. Like, they're talking about things that nobody else. And Greg Fleet, by the way, is just amazingly smart. And this was 12 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So, or 11 years ago. And I understand he's gone through rehab a couple of times, and but I loved working with him and watching him do stand up, because those are real comics. Those
Yeah.
are guys that have been doing stand up as long as I was, and they were just. It was a damn delight, is what it was. And Stuart Lee's, he's one of these guys that can celebrate the silence. I obviously with the bit that
I
it,
can't.
that's been, I'm not
Yeah.
good at it. He, like when you watch that like Tig Notaro's Conan, first
Yeah.
Conan with the stool.
Yeah.
I would have in the middle of it seppuku. I just would have killed myself, and so
couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, my God.
She could celebrate it, and that's Stuart, you know.
Yeah.
And Stuart had like these amazing stories that went on, and the punchlines would build and build and build, and they were sort of set up. And he doesn't do this kind of stand up anymore because his stand up changes. Because he goes to Edinburgh every year, so
Yeah.
he has to write a new hour every year. And I think it's been established what I think about this new hour business every year. I would have loved to have heard him work on those jokes longer.
Yeah,
but
right.
when I met him, he had just started doing stand-up again. He had taken off because he had written a play about Jerry Springer going to hell or something.
Oh, it was an opera, wasn't it?
Jerry Springer the opera, and it got shut down, and he lost all of his money because it got picketed by the crazy Christians.
Tried for blasphemy.
He got tried for blasphemy.
Fuck.
Yeah. And so I met him
How
right
is
after
a
that
crime
happened.
in
And
this century?
Well, I don't think he was convicted because they would have killed him. But he had essentially run back to stand up.
Yeah.
He had stopped doing stand up and he thought, well, I'm going to be in the theater.
Oh no! Oh my God! Our dream where you're like goodbye.
Yep.
Wiping your hand. Oh, and you have to go back.
And then he had to go back.
for money. Oh
For
my
money.
God! That is a nightmare.
Yeah. And he is such a great comic.
Yeah.
That it would have it's what the kids call a God shot that Jerry Springer thing sucked, that it got sucked away from him, because it's essentially the Book of Mormon 10 years before the Book of Mormon. And because he's such a great comic. He had this bit about how, and I wish it was, the premise was, the setup, it was just one after another. Okay. He lives in London. Sometimes in the morning, the preachers will come proselytizing, Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever they are, will come and go. And he answered the door, and the person on the other side of the door said, "Jesus is the answer, sir. Do you know what the question is?" And he said, and then there's like 5 different answers. And they're like, is the answer, what sandal was very popular in the early 1970s among hippies? And then the longest fucking pause. And then he says, and the guy says, "No, that is not the answer." And he goes, "May I guess again?" And the proselytizer says yes. And he does 3 more of them.
Oh my God.
Is it the name of a little known band from Chicago, the Blank and Mary Chain? No, that seems obscure. And that's where it went on the end. And I watched him do that bit for like 2 weeks, and we were in Perth, and he was on stage, and there were just bro-y Australian dude in the audience who yelled out, "Get to the punchline, mate." And Stuart stood there and stared at him it felt like a minute. It was probably 20 seconds, right? And he goes, "Usually I do about 4 or 5 punchlines, but for you, 11. And he's such a good egg too. And he was just,
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, he's just, he's the kind of comic though that knows what he likes and knows what he doesn't like, and is more than willing to say it. And there was a moment when he got, because now he has a TV show, and there was and I heard
Stewart Lee
this.
Experience.
Comedy vehicle.
Comedy vehicle.
Okay.
Okay, and there was, I guess, and what season is it on, Kyle? Do you know?
I think the 4th is the one that's going to be coming out.
Okay, so he's done 3 seasons of it, and I guess, and this is hearsay, is someone was telling me, a British comic was telling me this, that he, in that first season, he didn't, and it blew up, and it was very popular, and he became much more, he didn't really realize he wasn't the underdog anymore, and so he was kind of whack-a-moling these other comics, and they're like, "Hey man, I'm just trying to work over here, what are you doing? Punch up." and so, but I guess he's balanced it.
Did he go after Russell Brand?
Oh, he goes after Russell Brand. He goes after James Corden.
Oh, he goes after Corden?
Oh, the James Corden bit is hilarious.
I gotta hear it.
Yeah,
Oh my
look
God.
up Stewart with a W.
Okay.
People.
Yeah.
STEWARTLEE.
And he does the Top Gear guys. I don't know. I don't know that show at all. But
the thing is he is. He's essentially. I mean, how I describe him is if Bill Hicks and Andy Kindler were one person.
Wow.
That's Stewart Lee.
Wow.
And he's amazing.
Yeah.
And so
and he
when
mentioned you in his book.
well, it's after there was a terrorist bomb in the subway or something, right, in London.
Yeah.
And so I emailed him, and I right after it, I the day of, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, I hope you're okay. I'm sorry to hear the horrible things." And so I guess in his album, which I haven't heard, I have his book, and his book is the gutsiest. We got to talk about that next because in his album, he tells the story of when that happened.
Yeah.
And how he woke up and he got a bunch of emails from all over the world. And they all said, "How are you?" And he wanted to go, "How did they know?" How did they know that I wasn't feeling, that I needed this attention?
We didn't know that.
How did they know that I needed someone to ask? And it's better than that. I mean, his act is,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do justice.
Yeah.
But here's the delight of the book, because the book is the set that he did, or I think it's either
2 hours.
It was two different sets.
Yeah.
It was 2 different hour sets, and they're transcribed and they're annotated, and the footnoted, and they're essentially. I wrote this bit because of this. This is what happened,
Oh.
and this is why I don't do it anymore, and this is why what I enjoyed about it, and this is what I didn't enjoy about it.
Really?
It is
That's fascinating.
the gutsiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The
to have-
book? What's it called?
What's it called? Stuart Lee.
That's how I escaped my certain fate, I think.
Okay.
That's how I escaped my certain fate. Yeah. It was, and it's got to be 380, 480 pages.
Fuck.
It is amazing. And it took me almost a year to read it. And Hari Kondabolu,
Yeah.
gave it to me.
I said yeah to all 3 pronunciations.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm too tired.
I rented his apartment in New York, and he had it, and he's an amazing Stuart Lee fan, and he was like, "Did you know you're in his book?" And I said, "Well, then clearly I must purchase this," because I had to make it about me almost immediately. But it took me 8 months to read it just because of how dense it is with the footnotes. It's talk about a lesson in comedy writing. It's that, and it's a lesson in crazy comedy living, and it's a lesson in any number of things.
You know what's weird? It's like Americans, we invent cool stuff, and then we don't do it that well afterwards. You know, like we kind of invented stand-up,
kind of.
but I don't think anyone is as good as Stuart Lee.
Oh, no, not right now. I think he's the best right now.
Right.
Kyle nodding furiously. People should see me nod. Yes, I'm with you, Kyle.
Can I hear it?
People ask me who my favorite comics are, and that's such a crazy question because
Yeah.
nobody's ever heard of my favorite comics.
I know.
You know?
I know.
What am I gonna? I'm gonna tell them it's Maria Bamford, Dana Gould, and Stuart Lee, and not in that order.
Yeah.
And because that order changes, and that doesn't mean that I don't fucking love, Aaron Foley.
Yeah, right,
watching
right.
Aaron Foley work on a bit, you're just like, what is happening? And so there's so many great. Oh, want to do Comic of the Week, or is it too soon? Might be too soon, but this hour is going to be interminable. So let's do.
Oh my
you
god!
got anything?
Well, how much?
I don't know. 15.
Oh my god!
I think we're at like.
17.
Oh no! Oh my god! How are we going to do this?
I don't know.
What other British comics? Do you know?
What at Last Comic Standing, I met a comic from India who I'm still friends with on Facebook, but I can't remember his name.
That's
a
a
great story.
great-
Can I tell that story again? Do you guys want to hear it again?
You probably
Here's
will.
what happened.
You probably will in 2 podcasts. Knowing you.
Ooh, in 2 podcasts. Don't think I didn't get that zinger. I've been zinged, you guys.
Wait a minute. Okay.
You're like, let me look at my notes.
I made
I'm going to
extensive
Montreal
notes.
this week, and get this, they set me up to do a live Dork Forest, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then they said, and your guest will be Maria Bamford. And I said, did anyone ask Maria Bamford if she wanted to spend her off hour during the day doing a Dork Forest? And so I emailed her manager, and he was like, "Oh, that is an interesting. Let's ask her." And then yes, it turns out someone did ask her, and she said, "Of course, I'd
that's
love to do
cool.
that."
That's
and her
great.
dorkdom, financial planning.
Oh,
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be super
That will be
dorky.
cool. I did Edinburgh a long time ago.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
The month?
No, not the whole month. You know Brian Hennigan?
No.
He's Doug Stanhope's manager.
Okay.
So he set up this week.
He has a name like the manager of I'm super fucking punchy of the Partridge Family. Anyway, that's who I'm picturing. Anyway, so does he look at all like
Wasn't that name
Reuben
Rupert?
Kincaid? Reuben Kincaid? Does he look
Wait
like
a
Reuben
minute.
Kincaid?
The name Reuben Kincaid
Made
sounds
me
like
think
Brian
Brian
Hennigan
Hennigan.
to you?
Yeah, it
They
really
have
does.
not even a consonant in common. What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I've been up since 5:30 this morning. I've done 3 Dork Forests, and now I'm on my second Jackie and Laurie show. Did we tell people that this was the? How did we introduce ourselves?
You know, those fuckers can figure it out. Anyone who doesn't know, I don't want you to know. If you haven't
This is
figured
a
it
new
out.
art
You
form, you
aren't
guys.
allowed.
The podcast. Anyway, you did Edinburgh with Brian Hennigan.
Okay, so he set up this week where it was like, it was at the Velvet. I don't think it's called the Velvet Underground. That's a band.
No, that is a band.
The Velvet Lounge.
Okay.
And I had 11 days, and James Inman from Seattle.
James Inman.
Had
I
11
always think of
days.
him as a kind of messed up version of Doug Stanhope.
Well, the third person who had 11 days was
Oh.
Doug Stanhope.
Oh, that. Worlds collide.
I mean, I didn't get to see either
Either
of
of
them
them?
because I had to leave because we were all staying in Brian's very small apartment one by one. Like
okay.
I left and Inman came in, I think, and then Inman left and
Oh, thank God you were
Stanhope
first.
came in.
Okay. So. I love both of those guys, by
Yeah,
the way.
me too.
But those
Me
guys
too.
are awesome.
Yes. But it was so fun. It was and
11 days.
I didn't have to do all the hard work that most comics have.
Right,
to
you
do.
didn't have to fly her?
Brian Hennigan did it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
He filled the room?
He filled the room.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a show at a decent time, you know, like at 8:00 or something like that. I mean, I went and saw some other Americans who had like
Yeah.
the 1 a.m. slot at some ballroom, you know, for 30 nights in a row.
Yeah.
it's tough, you know.
I've always wanted to do it, but
it's
then
really cool. I would love to do a full month one
Yeah.
time in my life if I ever find that time.
there's a producer lady who I met in Australia that I never followed up with because that's how I like to run my career.
So you don't follow up with the people that want to do business with you, but the people that are ignoring you, you call out and
I will,
shame
and,
on a mic.
and I will email them every 6 months for the rest of my life. It turns out, because one day Susan might book me. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so wait.
I love
This
Australia.
producer?
Yes.
Yeah, what were you saying?
Oh, Karen Corin is
Yeah.
her name, and she runs one of the bigger venues, and she sometimes produces stuff. But I know, like Eddie Pepitone did, where he flyered all day, and he did
my
30
God.
days.
Oh,
And Eddie
that is
Pepitone's our
so
age.
brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did it for the first time, and then, but he's come back every year, I think.
Wow.
And I think he's making money now, and you get road work out of it. You get to do the Yuck Yucks tour of Brexit, and which can't possibly.
What?
It's mashing up all my different words.
Yes.
It's great. I'm creating bumper stickers, you guys.
Oh my God. We just burned 5 more minutes and that's it. That's it.
Do you hear how scratchy my voice is? Fuck. Can I have that other water?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I was
All
just
right.
checking to make sure I didn't
Yeah, I'm building an immune system. Let's do it.
get into it.
So I'm other than that in Montreal.
Right.
Here's a fun fact about Montreal. They got Portuguese chicken there. I'm looking forward to that.
I did Montreal twice.
Oh, did you?
I did New Faces.
Okay, I did New Faces.
And what year?
2003.
I did it in 98 or 99, I think.
Yeah, it took me. I auditioned for it every year, and then in 2002, somebody told me the difference between what was currently the Aspen Comedy Festival in HBO,
Yeah.
and Montreal, which was that the HBO Comedy Festival was a casting festival, and the Montreal Festival was a treatment was a
Sitcom festival?
sitcom festival. So I specifically took 7 minutes and built a sitcom in that 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my set,
Smart.
right, it got me into Montreal and New Faces. And then for the first time ever, I saw Andy Kindler's State of the Industry. And he described every single sitcom and what my sitcom would have been from that set list. It was the year that everybody moved in with their parents. People
Right.
moved in with people in sitcoms.
Right.
There was like it's a wacky odd couple-y kind of thing, but it was generational. And that was my pitch.
Oh my God.
So it was
So he kind of demolished your set in a way?
in a way I was just like, "Oh shit, that does seem, but it's sold. It sold it. It got me to Montreal one time.
Did you get a deal out of it?
No.
I've
It didn't
never
sell.
had a deal.
I've never had a deal. I don't. You know
You
what?
and I are the only female comics who never had a deal.
I don't think that's
I'm not
true.
I'm not serious. I met some comics in New York. I'm like, You had a deal? What the fuck? You don't have a joke. How do
Oh,
you
wow.
have a deal?
Well, sometimes some people
this
have
is
a
a-
nice ass.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
And,
that helps.
That'll help.
No, I did New
or
Faces.
they're wacky. Maybe they're shouty and wiggly.
Yeah,
Have you ever thought about moving into the shouty and wiggly part of stand-up comedy?
It would hurt my hip too much to wait. I did New Faces, and then after New Faces, after I met an agent, right? She's like, "You got to
Sure.
move to New York,"
Oh,
and that's all. So I go. So I'm like, "That's great." And then a couple days later, I run into somebody. And she's like, "Well, how's Montreal going?" But I thought this agent was kooky, I was like, "I met this agent," and she goes, "Yeah, it's me." And I was like, "Oh," I was about
my
to
God,
slam
that's
her.
right.
But she ended up being like a soap opera agent.
Yeah.
She's kind of famously comically kooky, but she does well in her. She moved away from stand up,
Right, in her
But-
milieu.
Yes. But yeah, she's famously would tell female comics to wear more rouge.
Wow, rouge,
Yeah, it
you
was
guys.
great. Rouge, not even blush. Rouge.
I got told to move to L.A. at Aspen in '96, which is why I moved to L.A. As we all see how well that worked out. You guys, come on.
Well,
It worked out.
someone's got to tell you something.
Yeah.
You can't stay. Once you go to one of those festivals, you got to go someplace.
Yeah,
At least
and
back then.
did you get booked to Montreal out of San Francisco?
Yeah.
And then did you move to New York?
Then I moved to New York.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
So it worked.
Yeah, it did work. Yeah. And then I did Montreal Masters. I did Masters.
Okay.
When I was pregnant with my son. So I was like,
Did you do stand-up comedy when you were pregnant?
can you believe it?
Were you the first woman to do stand-up comedy?
No.
Wait, were you visibly pregnant on the? Is that one where you do a gala and then you're on TV, or did
I
you?
didn't do the gala. They've never
Oh.
asked me to do the gala. I've
Oh,
just
okay.
done the unpaid performance.
It's a classic Kilmartin move.
It is
You're
classic
like-
Kilmartin. Keep me away from that money.
Exactly. What am I
Yeah.
going to do with it?
But I
Pay
did-
a bill?
I did Masters with Cat Williams was one of the other Masters. You know, I had never heard of him. And
No,
then this
I
little
just heard of him.
Prince-looking guy walks in.
Right. On
Yeah.
very tall shoes.
Yeah, it was fun.
good.
But I never got anything from either Montreal's.
Nope.
And besides move to New York, I did Aspen too. Very like I always get everything after it's become
When
people,
it's done?
the industry's done with it.
Right.
Then they'll have me.
I did it before the industry cared. I did it the
It was
second
like
year.
one sweet year when
Yeah. The first year, Lisa Langang was booking it.
yeah.
And so the second year, she booked me. The third year, it was all if you had management.
wow.
And so I
Yeah.
did not have management, but I did move here and get a day job. So, it did work. And I had never been to
got a day
Aspen.
job when I moved to New York. You know.
Yeah.
I've been on the road for 10 years.
yeah.
no day job.
You were a code monkey.
Yeah.
You and your HTML.
But so I did Aspen. So I can't verify this, but I was told this by my then manager.
Okay.
That I had an HBO half hour. Like I was like in the mix
Yeah.
because they wanted a woman.
Yeah.
And then I did a set at, there was one room. It was like Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it was it was the room where you're in the corner and the audience is kind of like in a pit below you a little bit.
Okay.
Do you remember that venue at all?
No. But
Um,
I've
It's
seen
an
venues.
awful venue,
Yeah.
and people in Aspen are awful people. I mean,
They're fur
most of the
families.
sets-
Mom, dad, and the kids all wearing fur
They're all
coats.
ski people.
Yeah.
And they're awful. A lot of comics complained, and I ate it so hard in front of this audience. And my manager said the guy that booked the specials was at that show and was like, "Oh no."
You know
And
what?
then it went to somebody else. That's what I was told.
It is a problem.
I don't know if that's true.
Right. There's a problem with some of those industry sets where someone who works in the industry sees a set and they're like, "You're going to be a star," and then they see a different set and they're like, "Oh no, you're not," and
Right.
like immediately because it's a different set. The mistake I made when I went to Aspen is that it was my first industry thing, and I was so nervous about the set that I rehearsed it. I did it in Minneapolis over 50 times.
Oh my God.
Can you
Oh my
say the
God.
word wooden? The bits
Wow.
were dead. They were done. They were tinder. They were flammable in the fact that
Too much.
it was too much. And there was no
Because
Yeah.
often what people like about you, like you work so hard on your jokes, and what they like is the little you that sneaks out between your jokes.
That's it. They're
That-
looking for the and
that you
especially
forgot
Aspen's
to
looking
control
for
for 2
personality.
seconds? Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
And the other thing with Aspen is that I'm not good at altitude. So I believe I was also drunk. But I mean the problem is I was drinking and there was altitude.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you shouldn't drink." And I was like, "Oh, then I won't." And then it was free. And
Yeah.
so I drank some more. And then I'm not a good drinker, you guys. There's not a lot of moderation. So, but you can over practice a set, and that's what I did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thoroughly of the belief that, you know, before you go and do a set on television, you should go bomb someplace.
Oh, with that set?
No, just fucking.
Oh, just go-
have your last memory be that kind of panicky, dead, like that feeling.
Oh
when
my God,
something isn't working.
Yeah, that would not
Because
work for me.
Then here's what I feel
Okay.
like. Then you go to your if you know when you show up and they're like, oh, it's a great crowd, and you're like, oh well, and then you go up on stage, your first joke doesn't destroy, it just does well. You're like, oh, they're not a great crowd, or I'm not a good comic because this guy said they're a great crowd and they're only being okay with me. Like you get in your head, but if you're told they suck,
Yeah.
you're like, oh really? Maybe they sucked for you. The master's here. Excuse me.
Oh, my
It
God.
changes your point of view to the audience, and your whole half of your success is based on your stance, how you feel about yourself right then.
I have exactly the opposite.
But wait, I'm done.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, please.
So I think for me, going into a TV set, if my last memory was this didn't go the way I wanted it to, then I'm like, all my senses are alive. I'm like, this is not a given. It's not a given that I'm going to kill. I have to be 100% paying attention to everything. I have to be in the moment completely.
Okay.
Like it's like a reminder, like you can still bomb.
Okay.
So go to an open mic and just bomb a little bit. Just
Yeah.
remind yourself you can still bomb.
Okay.
And then if the crowd sucks,
Yeah.
you want to not have that panicked look. Well, you know, have you ever done a TV set where the crowd sucked and it's not going to go well?
Yeah.
Okay. You can tell the comics has a shocked look on their face. 'Cause, first they thought, oh, this is going to be my dream come true. I finally get this thing. I can tell everyone to watch the show tonight. And then the first joke and they're like, oh, it's not happening. And they're in despair and they recover quickly, but you see it for a second.
Yeah, you could totally see it.
I think that if you go in there prepared for the worst and the worst happens, you're okay.
Oh, that
and
doesn't-
you will not have that look of despair. You'll just be like,
And they don't have to edit around it.
"Ugh." Well, they won't edit around it.
No.
They won't. They'll
No.
just show it.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you go out there going, this could be grueling,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not, you're an angel dancing on a cloud. It's fucking amazing.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't like it when someone comes off stage and they're like, man, they suck. There's a guy in the fourth row who's an idiot. Because that's what's playing in my head.
Right.
I'm like, oh, well, it's not going to go well. And so I tend to go, then when I get on stage, I get super aggressive immediately.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
opposed to kicking back and not caring. If somebody says to me, the audience is great, they're going to love you, well, good to know that I'm just going to go out and do my set, it turns out.
Yeah.
Because they're a great audience and they're going to love me. So that's my...
How do you know that person's not setting you up for failure?
I never assume people are setting me up for failure.
You and I are
It's-
so different.
We are very different comics. It's fascinating, quite honestly. It's an interesting...
I assume it's all a trick.
Do you know that I once accidentally walked and then didn't work Christmas at Acme for 6 years? because
Wow.
yeah, he still booked me. Lewis still booked me at Acme,
Yeah.
my home club, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I was headlining week before Christmas. Corporates, just the place was packed with Christmas parties. And Chad Daniels, I love him dearly. I could strangle him this night, though. He gets off stage and he goes, man, there is such there's a dick in the third row who won't shut up. He was talking all through the MC, and he talked all during mine, and he's the worst. He's just an idiot, and he's got to be kicked out. And I was like, he made fun of he was talking during the MC too, and he goes, yeah, I don't understand why they haven't kicked him out. Well, that can't possibly be true. Acme kicks people out.
But it's corporates, you said, right?
It was corporate, so maybe it was harder.
Yeah.
So I get on stage. Maybe the guy talks. Maybe it was a different guy. I'm 5 minutes into my set, and I was like, no, we're not doing this. You're out of here. He's attached to 52 other people. He was the boss.
Oh.
Yeah. And the two adjacent stories is the bartender.
So the club backed you up?
Yeah.
At the time? But
Yeah.
they didn't bring you back for
No,
6 years.
He totally backed me up.
Oh, okay.
Lewis, that night, he was just like, hey, heard what happened. And I was like, oh my God, I did not know. But from a comedian standpoint, it was another 40 minutes with a 50
Great people.
with 50
Oh.
person hole in the audience. Because it was in the first 5 minutes of my set. So I had to finish my headline set.
You
with
mean
this-
all 52 people walked out?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was brutal. It was
Did you want to change your mind after?
Oh,
After they all
immediately.
stood?
Yeah, after he was like, "Well, we're getting out of here," in the drunken boss voice, and then people left, and then one of them, I guess, went to or somebody went up to the bartender and said, "Wow, that comic just kicked a guy out for doing nothing." And this is what I love about comic Acme, because the bartender goes, "Yeah, that happens all the time." Yeah, comics are constantly kicking people out of the showroom for no reason. That's why they do stand up.
You know,
It's because they want to kick people out. That's
the crowd is always to blame.
Well, so Lewis is like, hey, so that was weird. And I was like, yeah, that was, I am so sorry. Did it cost a lot of money? He was like, yeah, it cost some money. And I was like, okay. So a year later, or 8 months later, I call for a week. And I was like, hey, I was hoping to come at Thanksgiving or Christmas, visit my brother and sister who live there. And he's like, yeah, I was thinking May. And I was like, oh, yeah? He's like, are you booked all through that? He's like, sure. I'm thinking May. And so I hang up. And as I hang up, I realize why he's not booking me at corporate season. And I call back. I was like, Lewis, I'll eat it for 45 minutes. I am so sorry. I'll keep it super clean. I'll do whatever you need to do. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. He said, it's not a big deal, but let's just take a break. We'll get you here in May. And then 6 years. And I'm booked there New Year's Eve this year.
Oh, neat.
So it is all stepped. I've come closer and closer to getting to visit my family during the holidays.
Now, New Year's Eve is the night you do want to kick out 52 people.
Well, and New Year's Eve is not the night I necessarily ever want to do stand-up comedy. But
at least you're home. I like knowing if someone's trouble. I like it. Like, I was at the Stand a couple weeks ago, and I think there were there were like guys talking a lot, and it turns out they were the New York Mets. And because I was appalled at how rude they were, and I wish I'd known. It's like, oh, it's athletes. All right, they're I would have just been. I'm not even going to try to take on the Mets stage left. So I just would have plowed through it because it's a short set.
It's too bad you couldn't tell them. Tommy Lee laughed at me. And so
it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah,
I didn't have my Tommy Lee credibility
right,
yet.
your Tommy Lee cred didn't happen. Wow. So did you talk to him?
No,
you just kind
Tommy Lee or the Mets?
The Mets.
No, I just found out afterwards. But
okay.
I like knowing because then when it happens, it's not like because there's always a first second of am I going crazy? Are they ordering from the waitress? Or are they being like you're trying to identify?
Right,
if
are they
they're
treating
just,
me like I'm a band? And,
yeah. Try to figure out what the problem is.
Yeah.
So if I know ahead of time they're trouble, then I won't get psyched out. Or someone's just not laughing, you're like, for me, I'm always like, I suck. It finally happened. Like all my worst fears about
Right.
myself came true. I'm not funny anymore. And then, if you know, I find it helpful to know. And then if they don't turn out, I like to know the worst.
You like to be pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
That's it.
On
That's it.
stage and in life.
In life, I like to prepare for the worst and then be pleasantly surprised. On stage, I like to prepare for the best and then be happy. That's what I like to
I
do.
don't understand you. That must be the
It's-
Armenian in you.
It's how do you pronounce that word? Happy. Say it after me. You can do it. And I believe it.
Gretchen Carlson is suing Roger Ailes. You know who Roger Ailes is, right? He's the CEO of Fox News.
Okay. Yep. Now I do. I remember now.
Okay.
Because I know his name. I just didn't know who he was.
And he, he just reminds me of a club owner who went another way, who went into, into news.
But he went
news
into
producing
journalism.
instead. Yeah,
with a
yeah,
Z.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what's he being sued for?
Sexual harassment.
Oh, I bet.
But he, 6 women have come forward from the 70s, the 80s.
And today.
Yes,
it's like a
and
radio
today.
station.
Yeah, it's like it's Cosby, but it's
But that
people
guy.
are believing the women more now.
You know that Cosby's up to 54 women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jim Jeffries rounded up to 60.
That's why I knew that. That's weird that I knew that. It's because of Jim Jeffries running
Yeah.
up. It's, hey, you want to do Comic of the Week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Darlene Westgore.
Darlene.
Speaking of Minneapolis,
Yes.
speaking of Acme, it's Darlene Westgore. She's our age. She she won the first season of
Search
Nick's-
for the Funniest Mom.
Nick at Night's Funniest Mom in America. Or
Yeah,
whatever it
and
was
then
called.
she, I think she and Carol Leifer wrote a pilot together.
Yep.
And,
She got a deal. That's right.
yeah. She's very funny.
She's super funny.
And she works hard.
She's a hard,
She's super funny.
It's dark and smart and funny
Yeah.
and awesome.
I worked on the Search for America's Funniest Mom 2.
Uh-oh. The second season
That's
of
how
a
you
very...
had to answer the phone. Nick's Search for the I was it was my first. Let's see. It was. Oh, I had. Okay, I went to Tough Crowd, and then I was on. Okay, so I went from Tough Crowd to Ferguson. I worked on The Late Show with Ferguson.
Nice.
Then I stupidly and got terrible advice from my team at the time.
Right.
Quit to work for Adam Carolla
Okay.
on this show that he had on
Oh,
Comedy
weird.
Central called Too Late, which was canceled
Yeah.
pretty quickly, or wasn't picked up again. That's how we say.
Yes.
It wasn't renewed.
There you go.
That's how a lot
That's
of those
how-
things go.
that's how that's
so then.
progressed.
So I'm back in New York, and someone calls me about this thing, and it's not really a writing job. It's like this reality producing job, and it was nothing in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And it's female comics that are moms, but some of them aren't really comics. They're more
Oh.
mom than comic.
Oh, right.
And then like Sherry Davy, who's like a comic, and
Yeah.
Darlene had won the year before.
Yeah.
I got pregnant during that
Oh.
6 or 8 weeks
how
I
fortuitous.
think I was so angry at some of the comedy. I'm
You're like, I will show you
I'll
how
show
a
you what
mom
comic is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, like I remember, our Darlene was really funny. She won the previous season, so she was sort of like the model everyone was shooting for. But I have to like
Massage this
I
somehow.
have to
Okay.
hide a few things. But somebody who may have won or did really well flew in her entire family from another city for the finale. It was a competition, right?
right, so you get
that
rooting.
everyone's doing like 8 minutes, and
Yep.
she did at least 12 and didn't get the light because Nick at Night or whatever they're called, Nick.
Yeah.
They're not a comedy network, and they
Yeah.
don't run comedy, so. I'm like, hey, she went 4 minutes over, and it's fucking unfair to Sherry Davy and all
Right.
these other comics, and no one's. They don't care. They're like,
They
she
don't
did
care.
great,
And she did. And the thing is,
and the audience loved her because the whole audience was her family.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God, that made me so mad.
Okay, so two things that I've seen that packing the audience business before, and it's
Yeah.
it's a cheap shot. Comics, it's not cool. I get it.
Why would you care about being cool? This is your opportunity to
Right.
win Nick at Night Search for America's Funniest Mom 2.
Right, and then but the going over the light, especially in
So
showcases,
shitty.
it is shitty. But nobody ever cares if you're killing.
True.
Right.
Except the other comics.
The other comics, and if it's a competition, if you're doing the difference between 8 and 12 minutes, you can essentially you can reinvent the world. I mean, God created
it's a
the
huge
earth in 4
difference.
minutes of stand-up comedy. So get it together. And so so you got to respect the light. It's just weird.
Yeah. But, she didn't, and she won.
Yep. And she won, or might have won.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Hold on. She did very well.
She did very well. That's what happened. It's,
Nice enough.
sure, perfectly. I'm sure that's the whole thing of it. How are you gonna?
Oh, man. When are we done?
Another 15 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Right. So talk to me briefly about.
Guaranteed. You think I'm going to go on at
Oh, my
length?
God.
It's 11:45 on a Monday.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, Christ. What clubs? What were your favorite clubs of the 90s? I'm just going for. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something. I'm gonna do basketball with the water bottles. I've now drank so much water. I'm gonna float away from here.
Do we win anything for this? Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
I'm tired. We're just making up shit to talk about to people who probably fast forwarded to Marin's podcast at this point.
Oh no! Somebody skip Marin and one
person.
person listen to us first. You guys,
That's the last time that dumb ever did that.
dumbhead. Watch your language. Banana head is the. Did you see somebody sent me a GIF or a GIF of a banana head? You playing Pokemon Go? Want to talk about that for 15
No, I
minutes?
don't.
Weren't you waiting? Weren't you waiting for it to? It's
God.
Don't you think that we should stop killing black and brown people? How about that? You want to talk about that for a while?
Well, what other stance am I going to take on that one?
Take a stand. You want to be politically
What's
correct
weird?
about
I
this?
don't know how much I should fill my feed with that stuff. Like I retweet a lot of stuff I find. I think that's good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Am I just tweeting to the choir of,
Maybe.
I don't. But it helps, right?
Right. It amplifies it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I think it's important. I don't know. I'm where I'm hiding currently online is Snapchat.
Yeah.
That's where I'm hiding. I'm having the time of my life on Snapchat because there's faces. You can make faces. I can show you the milkshake I bought the other night.
I don't want to see it.
You don't want to see it, but I'm telling you, there's some funny stuff going on. Ron Funches in Amsterdam
Yeah.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
His story of his morning, and then he got stoned. Hey guys, I don't know if you know this about Ron Funches. He's available if you want to blaze up.
I don't want more social media.
Oh, that's true.
I want less.
Right. Well, Rory Scovel told me that he quit Facebook. He just has a pro page.
Does he?
And-
So he doesn't book any work through Facebook or anything.
No, I think Rory's fine. I think. But
I guess I'm asking because I sometimes get spots. And
well,
stuff
you know,
on
your fan
Facebook.
page can take messages.
Yeah, but then you're not quitting it. You're still checking it.
But my personal page is full of personal nonsense that I had to actually cut it down. I was doing it, and this sounds crazyville, but I cut it down to 3 hours a day in Facebook.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, because I'm constantly posting about shows and updating Dork Forest, the
Right.
Ranger page, and then doing my fan page. And granted, the 3 hours, it also, you know, I'd pop over to Twitter and Instagram and other nonsense, and then come back to Facebook. But if I went on to Facebook, I either had to stay there for the hour or just do my 10 minutes and get off and not come back until I was willing to check in 3 times a day. And it really calmed me down because there was I was posting a lot of political stuff, and there's people that think that this is my first election, that I've never voted before, that this I might I might have fallen for something. Maybe I haven't thought something through, and they want to let me know that I might have been taken for a buggy ride. No.
Yeah.
So I would like to cut it off completely, but I'm scared to do it. It's
Yeah,
like I'm scared to do all kinds of things. I don't like it.
I feel like I learn from some people's feeds that come up, and I get good links and to stories and stuff I hadn't heard of, or like Janelle James posted some, like, I don't know if she's just like killing it lately or she's just popping up on my feed more, but I mean, she's constantly in my Facebook feed and it's really good stuff. And she was talking about all the stuff that's happened in Dallas and before that, and just like things I hadn't considered, and how comics were like talking to each other privately going, can I say this, or I sound too angry, and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's it. That hadn't occurred to me. And so like, I don't want to miss out on that perspective.
Yeah.
And I get that from other people too, on different things. But I know that when I was writing Shitty Mom and I just deactivated my account, I got a lot more work done. I got a lot more writing. I accomplished something as opposed to writing tweets, which isn't really an accomplishment.
Right. I appreciate them. I think we all do. I think we all appreciate the Lori Kilmartin Twitter account. It's pretty damn funny. But can you deactivate your Facebook page and not quit?
Yeah. Well, you can deactivate it and then come back to it.
Okay.
And then you still have everybody that you had.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If do I get enough work or enough
from a business
keeping
point
up
of
a
view.
presence to people. There's bookers on Facebook. There's a lot of TV people on base. I got the job I got at Bonnie Hunt show because I was Facebook friends with one of the producers, and I heard that she got picked up, and I said, hey, so it's helped me get work and stuff. But how much of
as a business?
Yeah,
but it can't take over my life.
Christ,
and
it does. And so many. Yeah,
I regret not having one of those, like a fake name.
Yeah,
where it's just the 300 people.
Right.
Just, because then I'll be invited to all the parties I wanted to be invited to, and then you could message my fan page, and then I'll tell you to email me anyway. So, but it's I don't know how to fix the internet, the amount of internet that I'm consuming.
I know. And how many jokes am I actually putting on Twitter? There's, I put some political stuff up that doesn't make the show.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I can get rid of it,
Yeah.
But,
it's burnable.
It's burnable. It's like if I don't post it now, it's going to be dead in a week. So might as well get rid of it.
Yeah.
But am I, are there a lot of ideas that I just tweeted and then kind of forgot about? Because I got 40 likes on that one, done. And then it's like, well, if that had gone on my notebook instead, or also, and I had, developed into something else. I don't know, how much am I just tossing away?
Eddie Pepitone printed out all of his tweets.
Yeah.
Did you see that when he was doing sets with them in his hands?
Yeah.
And he didn't reference them or anything. He would just carry them on stage and go, these are my tweets. These are my tweets. And he actually went through all of his tweets and went through and found jokes. Or I think he hired somebody.
Gee.
So I think, or he got an intern, or I don't know what he did.
Yeah.
So it was the golden age of interns, I think. It was before people were like, wait, this seems like a lot of work for no money. But who knows? But I think you are missing some comedy gold. You should definitely write it in your notebook.
Yeah, I know.
But I should listen to my sets after I record them.
Should.
Yep. What am
Fuck, I should do that too. I mean, I get on good runs where I listen, and then I don't want to hear myself. And I don't want to think about my set till I'm at the club. You know, I don't want to be.
Right.
God, I don't want to be diligent all the time. Ugh.
I know. I feel like I'm hitting
boring.
my head against the right door, but my head still hurts. You know, I mean, I'm going in the right direction, but I'm exhausted. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm just tired. That's all. So, what are you going to do? Stop doing stand-up comedy? Seems like not an option.
Not for you. You stop for 2 days and look at you.
I know.
You're
Look
a
at
wreck.
me. I'm a wreck. I'm a wreck, you guys. All right. What do we have? 8 minutes?
You're at 54. You can call it if you want.
Right.
Let's do the full hour.
Let's do the full.
We
the
went
people
short on the
want-
first show.
What I say, hold forth. Pick.
Hold on. Wait. I was going to tell you. Okay.
There's no way to clean this up, right?
Wait.
No.
You know what? Okay. So what I was thinking with Gretchen Carlson,
Yeah.
like she probably got her job at Fox News because she was attractive to Roger Ailes.
Okay.
How many? I know that happens in comedy.
Right.
You know, where you didn't
Well,
get
who
a
doesn't want to
job.
book this? This is I get work. Just people go, oh yeah, I want Cation.
Because
I want to tap that.
I think there's a lot of female comics that don't get jobs because they're not attractive to the booker or the producer or it, you know, and
Right.
it's not about how funny you are.
Right.
But no one ever tells you that, you know, even if the person isn't trying to fuck you,
Right.
you know, but they just,
They're just not
They-
attracted to you. They're like,
no,
oh, I might
they're
as well-
attractive, but they're not going to try to fuck you, but they want to look at you. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, I'm just saying for, you know, that's a different problem for that comic who got picked. But for everybody else who's like, I thought I had a good set. I thought I was funny. Why not me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, all these fucking other things come into play that we forget about.
Yeah.
And we can't prove, you know?
Yeah. You can't prove it, and there's no way to do anything about it except for when you are actually attacked, and then you can say, "Oh, I was actually attacked," and call the cops.
Well, look at the, okay. So Chelsea Handler, right?
Okay.
All right. So the head of the network that she had a late night show, they started dating
Okay.
after she got the show.
She got the show, and then they
But-
started dating.
How, you know, and like, it's weird. Like, I'm not a fan of hers, but I think she does a really good job at what she does.
Yeah, she's really good at what she does. It's
Yes.
all pop culture, though, and
Yes,
I don't
yeah.
know anything about it.
Yeah. And so, but I'm saying, like, did she get that opportunity because he's like, oh, I got to fuck her? And, well, she happens to be also very good at what she does, and I think she works really hard and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's never had me on her show, and I don't think she likes me, so I get nothing from complimenting her. This
Right.
is all actual compliments on her competence.
Right, but you-
but,
okay.
But what about...
But you get to bring her up in a relatively negative way, and then that's not hurting your career. What's happening here? I can't bring up Susan Provenon.
I'm
but
not saying, hey, Chelsea, fuck me.
Chelsea.
I know. I'm
And so-
saying, if did that helped her get her late night show?
Well,
that
what-
the head of the network
Did it
wanted to
help-
fuck her.
Or did it help her keep her late show? Because didn't they date for years? Are they still going
I don't know.
out?
I
What's
mean, I
happening?
think her show did pretty well right from the start,
Okay.
and she
so-
might have been. But then is that just a larger thing of? Wow, she's hot. Someone's got to do something
it's
with
so
her.
impossible
It's
to define
It is, and it's
sexism.
Really,
It's like pornography. You know it when you see it, and there's no
I don't
way
even
to.
think you know it when you see it, though.
You can't press charges when you see it, because it has to be more overt.
You can't press charges against somebody who's hiring somebody because they like the way they look better
Right.
than you when you're both comics, you know?
Well, and you can't, because think about the other way too, is that men who get booked by that same booker
Mm-hmm.
because they were they played golf or
Right. Or
they
they
hang out or they party
They
or
snort it. Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
some
yeah.
you know, there's so many different
Yes,
factors that you're
there's
just like,
all that stuff.
well, I guess maybe if he wanted to sleep with me, but he doesn't want to sleep with me, so I'm not gonna get that booking. Maybe if I played golf, do you want to play golf? And or maybe if I partied more, or maybe if I liked sushi because that guy likes sushi, or you know, I played Magic the Gathering which is a card game, and I learned it in the early 90s because the Booker played it. Turns out I don't mind a game, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But that's why I learned it. I learned it so that I could play with Greg, who booked Acme at the time. And had a fun time, but...
You whore.
I'm a whore. I hoard myself out for Magic the Gathering, you guys. But also got some super rares, you guys. Super rare cards.
I
Gave them
don't
to my
know.
nephew. He threw them away.
I don't want to seem like I
Don't
did.
care?
It seem like I maligned her.
No.
I'm
Well, I don't
just
wanna see
wondering.
that I'm-
I was just thinking when Gretchen Carlson came out, I was like, well, how many fucking female journalists interviewed a Fox News, but Roger, because he's like, oh, I like her legs. He's
Yeah.
a leg man. Roger Ailes didn't
Why
like
do you
your
know
legs.
that? Is that in the article?
Yeah. There's a lot.
Okay.
So that's why they didn't get hired.
So, okay.
That's about what he. Yeah.
what
It's
he-
about
yeah.
him.
Okay.
And how many times I think that happens in female comics too, where you're like, you think it's you
Yeah.
think it's your fault,
You think that it's-
you know, and it's beyond, you know.
It's beyond your control anyway, right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's this whole thing where you're like, well, I guess the only thing I can work on is being funny enough so that I get to work everywhere.
And
And
then
the-
if you are funny enough and you're equal parts funny enough, someone else might get picked because
Of other factors, and then you're like, Jesus, what happened?
That's what drove me crazy when I realized that was going to happen in comedy too. Like
Oh.
I thought, oh, comedy has to be based on merit. It has to be based on how funny you are.
That must have been super disappointing.
It was
for you.
devastating, Jackie. It was devastating.
That'll burn. That'll burn when you find out that there's injustice in the comedy field, as opposed to in the plumbing field.
Yes.
I think there's injustice in all of it, and we're all. It's just. It'd be nice if it were fair, but in some cases, I'm just throwing.
You don't
bottles
have to
now.
wrap it up. Why all of a sudden we got to wrap it up like it's the end of 60 Minutes? You're throwing bottles. It's midnight on a fucking Monday. I didn't read a book to my kid tonight so I could do this podcast.
He can read now, though, right?
He likes to nestle up in my bosom.
He's a good kid, and you like to bond with him before bed. So go wake him up. Wake him up and say we're doing it now.
We're reading Wilder. Okay. Can we go now?
Now leaving Nerdist.com.